Welcome back to another episode of the Outdoor Adventures podcast here on Brownfield Ag News. I'm Brent Barnett, and on this week's show, we're talking with John Tate. We've had John on the program before, reflecting on his time working for Team Realtree as a cameraman and editor and producer. And today, we're going to talk with John about kind of some farmland and ag hunting ground real estate and what it takes to purchase your first hunting ground. I know that's something that a lot of people are interested in. I thought it would be a good podcast topic. And John was the first person I thought of here. And John, you work here for Hayden Outdoors Real Estate now. So I want to welcome you back on the show and just ask how things have been for you.
Oh, good, man. Since the last time we were on, man, I had a lot of compliments on our podcast we did. And several people reached out to me. Tyler Jordan reached back out and we were able to reconnect after not talking for a long time. And it, I like you, it brought back a lot of memories for me. And so that was fun. But ever since then, man, I've just been rocking right along, with we've had some production trips for the Hayden Outdoors TV show, Life on the Land. And I've been working on some various real estate deals and even managed to squeeze in a few days of hunting here and there. So it's been actually, that's where I'm at today, man. I just got to my buddy's place in Texas. So going to spend the week down here with some friends and have a good time. So yeah, can't complain. Life is good and I'm blessed, buddy.
That's exciting. I'm happy to hear that, man. Have you had any good hunting success yet this year?
Yeah. So drew a Kansas archery tag this year as a non-resident. It started getting a little tougher to get those on a yearly basis. And I didn't draw last year. So I had the point built up and drew a tag and went out there and hunted with some friends of mine out there in the middle part of the state. And, it wasn't cold, but it wasn't warm, but it just wasn't ideal November weather. And it was kind of tough, to be honest with you. A lot of cameras were out. We weren't getting the intel we needed on any mature bucks. And I just started being like, look, I'm just going to hunt where the girls are, where the does are. Surely to goodness at some point, old boy's going to come by and look for one. And I got up in a tree. I'd hunted a couple times before, kind of close quarters. You got some CRP, some timber right in front of me, but very close. And I was cracking the horns together that morning. And it's like the third time I'd done it. It was almost 9:00. And I'd seen this. We had a nighttime or two picture of this big mature deer, but he wasn't consistent at all. And I made the racket and I looked up, that sucker was 40 yards coming right to me. And he kind of paused for a minute. So I grabbed my bow. I'm like, all right, which way you going? And I was kind of hoping he would go to the right because it had been like a 15-yard shot, broadside. No, this son of a gun come right up under the tree. So I'm like, well, here we go. So I'm literally, right down on top of him and shot him. And he didn't even realize he was shot and runs over and actually walks off and lays down in the CRP. And so, yeah, he was probably a close pushing 158 point.
Oh man, that's a big 8, John. Holy cow.
Yeah, he was cool. He was, I knew I recognized him. He had the ends of his beams kind of curled up. And, so I knew it was him. I didn't have to worry about, as close as he was. I wasn't looking. Once I saw him, I'm like, it's go time.
Man, you've got some good history with rattling bucks in. I think back to that one you got in Kentucky that time. Yeah. That was a crazy fast hunt.
Yeah. And that was, I was literally in the tree 15, 20 minutes on that one, and had the old smoke pole that day. So that I was able to reach out and touch that deer. And, I couldn't believe it happened that quick because it never does. You're a hunter, it never happens that quick. So no. I'm thinking, all right, what's going on? I need to go buy some lottery tickets.
you get those kind of, those fast ones like that. And you just kind of look up and say, hey, thank you for the easy one there. Appreciate it.
Amen to that. That's exactly right. So yeah. As far as your topic, just kind of lead me down that road, man. I'd be glad to answer any questions. And then I don't know everything, but I know I can give you some insights on what I would try to do.
Sure. Let's just keep it pretty broad here off the top, John. So if, there's a lot of people out there looking, their dream, we hear Bill Winke say, dream big, to buy their own hunting land and have their own property and manage it. I mean, what goes into making that first purchase, and what tips would you give people?
Well, you're right. So Winky's done it right. You look at any of the folks that we're friends with or that we've watched on TV forever, Mark and Terry Drury, Lee and Tiffany Likoski, Don Kiske, Candy Kiske, anybody who lives in the Midwest, right? For the most part, and not just the Midwest, but that's where a lot of the really, really big whitetails come from for the most part. They went out and found a piece of property, and it probably more than likely was raw, and they took a risk and probably had some money squirreled away for it, and they went after it and made it what they wanted. So I would say the everybody wants to own, their own big buck place. Their own property. There's nothing that beats getting up and walking on your own piece of land. Just it's like in old brother where Art Thou at old Delmar. It's like you ain't no kind of man if you don't have land, and especially hunting land. So, obviously, it takes money. That makes the world go round, unfortunately, in certain ways. But if you have one or two other folks that want to throw in, and you've got a group of guys that are like-minded on management and improving properties and making them good, you've got a spectrum here of raw land, down here that has a tons of potential if you have the vision for it and the checkbook, and you got turnkey properties, that have already been bought, been improved, food plots, a lodge, meat process, or whatever. So, and you got everything in between. Obviously you have to hunt big deer where big deer live. I don't think you could go to and buy 1,000 acres in Florida and expect to kill a 180. Right. So you have to focus on those Midwestern states, in my opinion, Kansas, Iowa, Missouri, Nebraska's a great place. Ohio's a sleeper state. Anything where there's corn and beans, in my opinion, alfalfa, things like that. So identifying properties, some of the main features you want to look for is obviously water. You definitely want to look for cover. You want some thickets in there. You want some bedding area type places, or if all you have is water and agriculture, maybe you're the neighbor or the national forest or somewhere like that next door has cover, right? So the deer have somewhere to escape. Let's just say you bought a 500-acre tract of ground. That's just a good round number, and you've got some cedar thickets and a couple plum thickets and some thicker areas, right, where you're like, man, that looks good. The worst mistake you could ever make is intruding on those spots, right? Because that's the deer safe haven. And a lot of guys will, we all get stressed out or like, we got to kill a buck, and you sometimes push that envelope and you go into his bedroom and you run him off, right? More times than not, you're going to push him off your property. Neighbor's going to kill him or whatever. You'll never see that buck again. So a deer has to have somewhere, a mature buck has to have somewhere he feels safe, and he can get water and he can get food, right? And so you always, and Onyx is a great tool, and there's some other mapping software out there that helps you, from a satellite perspective. Oh man, that's a cool little section, and that's a cool little 80 section. There's a cool 160, whatever it is. And so just do your homework and look around, and there's tons of realtors, out there that have hunting property and specialize in it. Hayden, we specialize in hunting properties, recreational ranches, farms, and a lot of that stuff kind of overlaps. You'll have a good hunting property that's also good farmland. So
Yeah.
one of my buddies is actually looking at maybe buying some land in Oklahoma, and he's kind of asking my opinion about it. And he was trying to crunch the numbers, thinking about, okay, what if I put, if my payments are this much a year, he's like, well, I can lease the farm ground to a local farmer and make that money back. So you're helping pay your payments, and then your land is appreciating over time. Right. So there's so many bonuses to buying the right piece of property, but you do have to find that right one. And if you've got like I said, if you got the checkbook and the vision, to make it what you want, sky's the limit.
People put in that hard work, John, to raise that money like you're kind of talking about. What would you say about some of those smaller tracts that pop up here where I'm at, for example, in southeastern Iowa? From time to time, we'll see tracts of a 40 acre or even a 20 acre piece come up for sale and go to auction.
Yep.
What about those types of places that have that habitat on them?
Yeah. So, right. So I keep talking these big numbers, but you're right. That little 20 and 40 acre section, man, if it's located in between, some other stuff that's not pressured, or even if they are pressured, it might even be better, because if you're the only one in there hunting and you got your little honey hole, a little food plot put up, and a couple good stand locations, depending on the wind, that 20 acre section could produce a big buck every single year. So it don't have to be that 1,000 acre or 2,000 acre, big farm or big ranch to do what you want to do. Now that helps from a deer herd number, right? More deer, more top end animals, right? That are spread out over that acreage. But all you need is one. That's anytime I go somewhere, I'm like, all I need is one, the right one to step out.
Let's say that, a hunter or a person is able to get that land they want. They get an offer accepted or get it at auction.
Yep.
Walk them through, for a beginner, that process now of that transaction. What are some things they need to know going into that?
Yeah. So if you're in the market to buy, some recreational property, hunting property, whatever, you obviously want to know way ahead of time, what your limit is with your expenses is just for the land purchase, because then above and beyond that, your land improvement is going to be a whole nother level of financial, investments as well. So find out, about your debt to income ratio, talk to your banker. And there's also a lot of good ag bankers. Outdoor Bank is a really good resource to go to that we work with for Hayden Outdoors. And they work with all kind of different people wanting to buy farms and recreational properties. They understand that they're hunters and farmers themselves. So, talk to them and explain to them your goals. And then you can discuss your finances, and they will kind of give you that limit on, hey, here's what's realistic. And so you get pre-approved, and then okay, going into making an offer on a farm, right? Or going to an auction, when to stop raising that hand at the auctions, right? And what to offer on that farm that's going to keep you within your limits, because you as bad as you may want that farm, you don't want it to ruin your life. But if you can get that balance right, you'll be good. And so once you know your limits, then start looking around for those properties that meet that financial window, right? Whatever is $300,000 to $600,000, whatever that window is on your list there. And then you start narrowing them down. Hey, is it an hour from my house? Is it 6 hours from my house? I'd rather have something smaller that I can get to quick versus, something big that's, half a day's drive away too. But, it all depends on what you want. And, once you get that established, hey, does it have a creek? Is the creek year round? Do I have water rights? Do I have mineral rights on the property? Some friends of mine in Kansas bought, they bought several, sections and half sections. And some of the stuff they've been buying only has surface rights. They don't have mineral rights. So the previous landowner's still making money off the oil and the gas, right? But if you can buy one and buy all the rights to it, you've got something that's working to pay you back. That's another ROI for you.
John, in my work with Brownfield as a farm radio broadcaster, we obviously cover a lot of the farmland sales that take place throughout the Corn Belt. And, we saw a really big spike in the market in 2022. They really surged. What are things looking like right now? Do you kind of have a perspective on the land market at this time?
Yeah. So, as we all know, our economy fluctuates around politics. And with the latest election, America spoke out. And I think there was a resurgence in people looking to buy, people looking to sell. I know that November 6th, my phone has started ringing, and it is actually on the uptick big time. I know that the interest rates, they're hoping it's going to drop some more. That helps a lot, of course, with anything. And, if we can get gas prices down, grocery prices down. But I just, for whatever reason, and, folks have just really started feeling a little more secure in what they're doing, in the next several years moving forward with buying or selling land.
John, thanks so much for coming on the show here. Really appreciate the time here on your trip to Texas to do some hunting, and good luck to you guys out there. Hope you get something.
Oh, thanks, buddy. We'll have a good time. We that's all it's about, is having a good time. Everything else is just the cherry on top. So I appreciate it, and hope I was able to provide some quick insight to it. And I appreciate you inviting me on again, man. Look forward to the next time.
Yeah, likewise. And, I got my first couple of firsts this year. The deer I shot with a bow on November 8th was my first public land buck and
Nice.
my first deer off the ground with the bow. So I got a 2-for-1 there. But then now, of course, now that I'm tagged out, a big old bruiser showed up on trail camera. So that's the way it gets.
It is. But you know what? And it's funny you say that. I do believe that I shot my buck on November 8th. I want to say I did.
That must have been a good day to be out there then.
Look on my map here. No, I shot him on the 7th. Okay. Yeah. So that was a good week though.
It was, for sure. There's a lot of bucks moving around here. No doubt.
Was. Congratulations on your deer, man. That's awesome.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And we'll try to have you back on the show sometime here, John.
Anytime. Would love to. Always good seeing you, bud.
Likewise. Again, that's John Tate with Hayden Outdoors Real Estate. And we thank you for joining us here on the Outdoor Adventures podcast this week. And we also hope you have a great weekend. I'm Brent Barnett with Brownfield Ag News.